All right, calling the meeting to order. Due to the governor's statewide disaster declaration related to the COVID-19 pandemic and current public health guidelines for social distancing, I have determined that it's not prudent for members of the village board or staff to convene in person for tonight's meeting. Therefore, the members of the village board are attending this meeting by video conference. Those same conditions require barring access to the public for in-person attendance. In light of those limitations, the public is invited to attend and listen to the meeting through the Zoom platform or by phone as indicated on the meeting agenda. To comply with the Open Meetings Act requirements for virtual meetings, tonight's meeting is being recorded. Amy, could you take a roll call and ask everyone if they can be heard?
I can. Trustee Borowski, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here. Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening. Trustee Kritzmeyer, can you hear me?
Yes. Hello.
Excellent. Trustee O'Reilly, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. Trustee Nora, same for you.
I can hear you, Amy. Thank you.
Excellent. And Trustee O'Connor, can
I'm
you hear
here.
me?
I can hear you.
Thank you. Excellent. And Trustee Michaud, we sort of already know about you, but for the record, now that the recording is going.
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I prefer when you shout though, Jenny, really, seriously. No, keep going. I'm sorry. Is that everyone?
We're done?
Mhm.
And you
Yep.
can hear me too. So
All
I am
accounted for.
I am here. All right, so let's say the Pledge of Allegiance if we can. I pledge allegiance
Pledge
to
allegiance
the flag
The flag
of the
of the
United
United
States
States of America
and
and to the republic
for which it
for which it stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
with liberty and justice
justice
for
for
all.
all.
For all.
All right, well done. I think
This
that was
is why
pretty good.
choirs cannot practice remotely.
You cannot, it's like choir, you can't practice remotely, is that what you said?
Yeah, because of those delays. You can't really actually do it in time.
Got it. I thought we did a pretty good job. That was one of the better ones, I thought. So.
It was.
All right, so
Bill,
the,
Bill, this
Go ahead.
is Vic. I just wanted to make sure you could hear me now.
Vic, we can hear you. Thank you. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
You got power back yet or no?
No power, but I'm in my car to keep my battery going, and I found a different way to get in, so I was able to get the sound going from your end.
All right, well, thank you for being here. And you're going to great lengths to join the call today, sitting in your car, so thank you. All right, the very first item on the agenda is the Homeowners Association visitors. And I didn't see Sophia Hansen here from Bridgewater Farms. Is there anyone from Bridgewater Farms here? If not, I know Jeff Wilson is here, and I think I even saw Helen in the background for a second there from Briarcrest. Jeff, thanks for joining the meeting. And you know, this is the time where you get to provide us with updates and comments and concerns that you're experiencing as the HOA president for Briarcrest. So take it away.
Okay, thank you. And again, thanks for inviting me to be here. I think one of the things that we just had our annual meeting every year, I'm always on right after our annual meeting. So we have all this discussion at our annual meeting. One of the things that came up this year was this fence that borders the Briarcrest Lane over by the Oman Flower Farm, which is on the other side of it. And this fence is collapsing and falling down, and a couple of people have brought it to our attention at the meeting. And then since then, I understand one of our homeowners that lives on Briarcrest, Ira Neville, sent an email about it to Margarita. And then I know Cheeky Johnson, who is a regular attendee at these meetings herself, sent an email also to you, Bill. And I think you also, so I saw a picture that you took of it to share with Bill Balley. And so I appreciate that, and anything that could be done to get the adjacent homeowner to repair that fence or replace it. There you go. Pictures 1,000.
Yeah, and that's not
words.
even, there's worse spots than this too, right? This one
Yeah.
just caught my eye there, right? So,
It's pretty much like that the whole length of the farm that borders on Briarcrest Lane. Needless to say, it's every once in a while we have brought it to their attention and they have just kind of done a sort of a temporary propping up kind of thing by sticking a board in it to prop it up. And then again, anytime any wind that comes along or snow or anything like that, then it starts to collapse and it's pretty dilapidated. I'm sure that fence has been there for well over 30 years now and has seen its better days. So we'd like them to either take it down or put in a hedge or put in a different kind of, put in a better fence, one that is not falling apart.
Now, Bill, you, I sent that to you. Did you have any success in getting to?
I did, and Jeff, nice meeting you, sir. This is part of our property maintenance code, and we outsource that service with the Village of Buffalo Grove. Coincidentally, the Village of Buffalo Grove is doing a major restructuring of the building department, and they've had at least one retiree, and they've got a couple others. So I went to Chris Stilling, who's the deputy city manager in Buffalo Grove, and I said, we got to do something with this. So I think what it's going to result, it's in horrible disrepair. It's not something that you're going to nail back together. I think you have to replace it or come up with some other solution. So I'll be talking to him further tomorrow morning and try to develop a strategy for which will likely be a notice and a citation, and then getting it into the, probably getting into the circuit court. Obviously, we're going to try for compliance, but at this point, the fellow that we worked with, our property maintenance officer in Buffalo Grove, Joe Arizzi, is either on disability or he's retired. So they're going through quite a flux. So we'll get an enforcement strategy. It may result in just getting it up into the circuit court and having the judge decide. It's the picture is pretty compelling. So it's gonna be hard to view as a maintenance item. But the general approach on property maintenance is try to get the property or the facility that's in disrepair restored. But that's in pretty bad shape. So I should have an update for you and the mayor, certainly by the end of this week in terms of what the approach is going to be. But it may well be a notice to be followed by a citation and get it up to Waukegan so they can adjudicate this. There's not a lot of leverage to say it's can be restored because it's pretty much in disrepair. So that's where we stand right now. Jeff and Mayor, that's where we're at, and I think we'll have some clear direction once they get out there and begin their enforcement.
Is
Thanks,
this,
Bill.
Okay.
is this a big fence?
Yeah, it goes all the way along
Yeah.
Briarcrest Road. So it goes a long way.
So it's like maybe what, 100 feet?
Oh, no, I think
I
it's
would
more than
say
that.
Thousands of feet,
Probably
thousands.
more like a quarter mile. I know Briarcrest Lane is about a third of a mile, and I think this is at least half of that distance. So,
I see.
figure maybe 1,500 feet, something like that.
Yeah, I have other pictures if you want to see them too, but I don't think I need to
Yeah.
tie this up tonight.
Yeah, there's a few sections that are tolerable. I mean, if you had a small lot behind it, but it's pretty bad. So it'll be a test of our, Buffalo Grove, our contractor, which is Buffalo Grove, their negotiating ability. But I really think looking at the circumstance, it'll result in circuit court action.
Well, how much is that cost versus us tearing it down?
Well, a circuit court action wouldn't be terribly expensive because it's a claim. It's a property maintenance claim. So you'd have a claimant, an injured party, and they'd go up to Waukegan and make a case and get a judgment. It's not an extensive thing. Now, moving it into an arborvitae line or something like that, that would take some level of negotiation and presumably cooperation of the property owner. But right now, it's, when you leave your fence in that level of disrepair, you don't anticipate cooperation. You might receive it. We can try for it, but it's not going to be a litigation lawsuit. It's a pretty straightforward property maintenance violation. And the only real question is, can you repair or do you need to replace it? And if so, how much of it goes down? Because that's where the money would come in to restore it.
No, I guess where I'm going with it is, if whoever owns it is not going to remedy the situation, if we take the fence down and put a lien on the property for that expense, if that's possible, that might be I'm just wondering if that's cheaper than going to court. You get a judgment, and whether they pay the judgment or not, you can wait 10 years for that. So I'm just weighing one option against another.
Yeah, well, I show the owner to be Don Silich is the purported owner of the property.
Yeah.
And, you know, we would need his permission to get on his property. I mean, there probably are some utility easements back there that we could get on, but we could get ourselves in a jam if we tried to remove it without his permission.
Okay. No, I thought it was on Long Grove property.
I don't think, we don't have a screening easement. I'm almost certain of that. I need to reconfirm that with,
It sounds like it's on the Yeoman property, so that's what it sounds like.
Okay,
so.
all right,
Yeah.
thanks. That's all.
Yep.
And
Jeff,
Vic,
anything else?
We do have,
Oh, go ahead, Vic.
we do have some other alternative options for enforcement that would allow us to either directly recover costs, or it could even be brought by a neighbor, and they could directly recover their costs. So I think we should explore with the code enforcement folks first, see whether they can get a result, and then there's opportunities to take various ways to make this happen, make the remedy happen.
Thanks.
Jeff, Wilson,
Yeah,
anything else for us?
Yeah, one other thing, you know, we have our own community water system. We have a couple of deep wells and have our own water main lines that service our 69 homes. And over the years, we've occasionally had a water main break on one of the lines over on one of the on Briarcrest Lane, but not too frequently, once every couple of years or so. So we call out a plumbing crew, they dig down, put a sleeve on it and, you know, fill it in. But over the past 2 years, we've had a number of breaks now on one particular roadway, along one particular roadway on Southwell Road, which is the road that runs to the well house and back, where we have our tank. So every time we have a break on that line, we have to shut the well house down, drain the tank. It inconveniences the entire subdivision. We have to bring plumbers out to fix the leak. So we had a number of leaks over the past 2 years. I want to say at least 6. So we finally got to talking with people about, well, what do you typically do when you have this kind of situation? And we got our engineering firm involved, Manhart Consultants, and they proposed that we replace that line with PVC C900 is what they call it. And we chose an 8-inch pipe that we put in. All of our pipes now are ductile iron, 4-inch ductile iron. So we put that PVC in this year. Now we're going to have a special assessment to pay for it, a couple $1,000s for each home. But I'm just wondering, I know Royal Melbourne a number of years ago had a similar kind of problem. I've done a lot of reading about ductile iron, and from everything I've read, it's supposed to last, it's rated to last 101 years. They have it all over the city of Chicago. They're still installing it in the city of Chicago. And I know Hawthorne Woods, our Manhart consultant, said that Hawthorne Woods is putting in a 10-inch ductile iron pipe out in Hawthorne Woods. So we've just not had very good success with this ductile iron. And I'm just wondering if others, we're looking at doing more, possibly doing more replacement as we go forward, maybe on a phased basis. I'm just wondering if other subdivisions, if you've heard anything like this from other subdivisions in the village, having trouble with that have systems similar to ours, community wells or community water systems that have ductile iron and are having problems with it failing. We've tested the soil out there and found that the soil was not acidic. So we thought perhaps it was because of the acidic soil. They said, no, it's not acidic. It measured neutral all up and down. We tested about 6 different sections of that line there on Southwell Road, and it was all within normal pH range. Now the line is, when it was installed, there was no gravel or sand underneath it. So it's just on flat, it's just on hard clay down there. So that may be part of the problem. Also, since it's right next to the pump house, whenever the pump house kicks in and maybe there's a surge in pressure, although it never surges more than 70 pounds so per square inch. So we never thought that that was a problem, but that could be a contributing factor. So I'm just wondering if you've had any experience or heard anything from other subdivisions about this kind of problem.
I have not, but engineer Jeff Perry, village engineer Jeff Perry's on the line. Maybe he has a comment.
Yeah, Jeff, I have not heard anything either. I know Manhard Consulting, when they were doing the design, they relayed a lot of that same information to me, just to bounce ideas and get some opinions. But no, it's good you tested the soil, because that's typically what you see if there's an imbalance of positive and negative chemicals out there. And then, the pressure surge, the ductile iron pipe is usually rated for well over 200 PSI, and you said you had 70. So
Yeah.
that's probably not likely, but I think you're looking at the right things as far as the installation goes. Don't know if they found anything when they took it apart, if that led to any clues, or as they may say.
We cut some pieces out, but we didn't, and of the pieces that we cut out, we didn't see any anything that was noticeable. Oddly enough, while we were doing this, we had three line breaks on one on Southwell, one on Hilltop, and one on Briarcrest Lane. And then we found another one that had been there for a while on Hilltop, and we just didn't know. It was not bubbling up to the surface. Usually when you get a water main break, the water will be gushing up through the soil up into the surface, and you'll see it. We had one down near Aptekissick Creek, and there was some old drain tile down there, and the water was literally, we're pumping it out of our line and into this drain tile and into the creek. So we had very low water pressure, but we didn't know, because it wasn't coming above ground, we couldn't figure out where it was coming from. So we finally got a company to come in, and we punched a hole. They estimated that it might be down there by the creek, just because of what I was talking about, maybe old drain tile. And so they punched a hole down to the line. They dropped a line in, and then they could sense about 100 feet in either direction. And then they located where the break was. We dug down. We got down about 3 feet, and then we saw the water, and we got down to about 8 feet where the line was, and then there it was, just gushing out of our line, basically into the creek. And so that might have been there for some time, and because we had noticed we always had a little bit low water pressure on that end of the subdivision, so we figured that there must have been some kind of a leak going on there for some time. And it wasn't until we did this work over on Southwell where we had a number of turn-ons and turn-offs as we were installing that line, and that turning on, turning off probably caused that opening to get bigger. And then, fortunately, we found it. Now everybody has much better water pressure throughout the whole subdivision.
I'm wondering, Jeff, if you might not be able to follow up. Jeff Perry, follow up with Jeff Wilson. This gets confusing. See if there's any thoughts you have. Because I don't know if we're going to solve it tonight, but maybe you could follow up. Is that something you could do?
Certainly.
Yeah,
Jeff, I know I have your email address, and I think I have your phone number as well. So I will, I'll follow up with you tomorrow.
Okay, great. And we've been working with Pat Wendricks, who I think you know.
Yeah, I do.
At Manhard. And so anyway, they've been very, very helpful in getting these things resolved. But now we're looking towards whether we need to replace more water mains or whether what we just did will suffice for the coming time. So that's where we're at. Those are the only things that I have. Those were the main concerns that came up during our meetings of late.
Jeff, thank you for joining and sharing your concerns. Thank you also for being an HOA president. And also thank you for letting your wife chair the Plan Commission too, so.
Yeah, you're welcome. We I will say this, we both Helen used to work in the city for a law firm down there for many years. I work in Evanston in a law practice over there. And so we were kind of like, your typical, bedroom community members of Long Grove, although we loved Long Grove, loved the village and the countryside and the open spaces. But we just finally decided that here, as we're getting closer to our retirement years, that it was time for us to give something back. So people in our subdivision thought maybe I would be a good member for the board. And now I've been at it for 16 years. But I think, as all of you know, as you get involved in doing anything for your homeowners association or for the village, you just kind of, it just kind of grows on you, and the more you see that needs to be done, the more you want to participate and give something back. So in that spirit, I think I've done this service for a number of years, and kind of enjoy working with the community and just getting to know everybody in the subdivision so much better when you're serving in a capacity like this. So,
Well, thank you again, Jeff. I appreciate it, and thanks for being here. And
thank you.
I'm going to move us along to the report of the CSCC committee, this Scenic Corridor committee. And I think village planner Jim Hogue is going to give us an update.
Thank you, Bill. There were no action items at the November 4th meeting. They did have 3 items for discussion, the first being the Route 22 landscape plan. At their October meeting, Trustee O'Connor suggested that they review the landscape plan for the Route 22 widening and really looking at how native plantings could be integrated into that. We did get comments back from Commissioner Berger. The CSC directed me to formalize those and bring them back at their December meeting. Once they're done looking at them, I will bring those to the village board. Another comment they had was they noticed that the plant material seemed crowded, that there was quite a bit of plant material in there. So I'm going to forward the plans to the village arborist to get his input on the plantings as well.
Any questions?
Yeah.
I do have a comment, and that's about at what point do we see this? Because I'd hate to see it get too far along, because my concern about trying to do this natural environmental display of plants is not always workable. It might sound good in theory, but in practice, it's not terribly good. And so I'm curious as to when we would be seeing it.
When they're done with it, and I hope to have those to you for your December meeting after the CSC looks at it at their December 3rd meeting.
Okay, do they have any concern about the natural versus the more practical?
They noted that there were not a lot of natural species that were in those plans, and really the comments that I got back were the pros and cons of the species that were proposed.
I think your write-up, Jim, also noted something about how it needs a lot of TLC the first 3 years and lots of watering as well to get it established.
Correct. Native plantings are like that, whether it's median or somebody's backyard or whatever. The first 3 years are critical for not only watering, but maintenance in terms of weeding and, properly ensuring that the seed mix develops. After that, you get a relatively maintenance-free type of landscape, which has been the goal of the Conservancy Committee and really what the Conservancies are all about.
Well, I just always keep in mind our sore thumb sitting at 53 and 83.
Yes, and well, I will move into the next item, which was discussion of the landscape islands. The CSC is moving towards some sort of test plot, probably on Old McHenry Road. They held a special meeting last night to go out and do a site visit. Doing something on Route 83, because of the size of that median, it would probably become lost and it wouldn't be very effective. There are some spots on Old McHenry Road where they think a test bed could go in. While we were out there, we did look at the Harbor Chase facility, which is, I believe, what you're referring to, Bobby. And it's actually gotten a bit better. There are some native plants that have taken hold, but it's not 100%. I brought that up to the committee because I believe Harbor Chase was going to bring us an application in to turn that back into turf grass. So the CSC would need to review that. Their comment was it was just not properly maintained from the start, which allowed weeds to get in there. And to your comment, Ann, about the first 3 years, that's where it fell down, if you will. But there are some native plants that have come back. There were several species out there that they noted that are doing fairly well, but it's not complete by any means. So they will be.
Well, don't we have the same problem down at the other nursing home?
Arborea?
Arborea?
Yeah.
Arborea had specific issues with their landscaping that I believe were addressed through tallgrass prairie restorations. They made some suggestions as to changes that need to be made. I believe in one area where drainage was prevalent and we were getting runoff from the parking area, they just turf grassed that because of the components of the runoff, mainly salt and those kind of things, were very detrimental to the native plantings. But I believe they implemented those, and I haven't received any complaints about the landscaping at Arborea.
Then how come they haven't come back?
They were coming back to ask for conversion of the rooms from storage facilities into memory care. I don't know why they have not come back. We have contacted their representative. And I don't know the reason. We did send inspectors out there, and I can tell you that the storage rooms are still storage rooms. Why they have not moved forward, I do not know.
Because didn't we tie it to the landscaping?
I think we discussed both of them at the same time.
Yes.
Well, that's what I mean by tying them.
Right, right.
I don't know that we officially tied it, but we may have made it very important to them or to us that we had both conversations at the same time.
I know with COVID and everything, I think there's been other more pressing concerns that they've had.
I think you could be right, Bill.
Maybe why.
I don't know that for a fact, but I think you could be right.
Well, but we also talked about the people turning left out of there instead of going right, and them putting more of those bollards along that, we talked about all of that. And I think I can guess why they haven't come back.
Yeah, I could guess too.
Just guessing.
I don't know. We've contacted them. They haven't gotten back to us. That's all I know on it.
Well,
people are still turning left too, by the way.
Oh yeah, that's not good.
Oh yeah.
That's not change.
It's dangerous. I almost got creamed by somebody trying to make that left when they should.
So unless there's more comments, I'm going to do my best to keep us moving.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
Just real
Sure,
quick.
Rita. Yep.
Jim, I think it was in the last year, we hired a firm, I believe out of Lincolnshire maybe, who came up with a sketch for the Route 22 shoulders. And I wonder if the CSC could look at that at the same time, as long as that's an entry to the village, so that these things coordinate, maybe, hopefully.
I'm not sure which documents you're referring to. If you can get them to me, I'll be happy to forward them on to the CSC. I forwarded them the IDOT plans that we had for the Route 22 widening.
Yes, and we had
the firm we hired.
Yeah, we hired a consulting company.
I think, it was like 3D design or something.
3D design.
Yeah.
And
I have those plans, Rita, and I will certainly make sure Jim has those in his hands.
Because it
Thank
was a nice design, but you know, if we're gonna, if this is gonna happen, it would be nice that if it would be consistent for the entrances and exits to the village. So when people enter, they're like, oh, you know, I'm not in Kansas anymore.
I'm surprised that they don't have these plans.
Yeah,
Because
me
looking
too.
at the IDOT plan
Right,
without the one that we've paid for doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
right, right. You
Yeah,
know,
I didn't realize they didn't have them. I thought that's what they were reviewing. So.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
and these are the people that know about this stuff, you know. I know what the names of the plants are, but I don't know what survives salt and what doesn't and all that.
Great. Thanks for bringing that up, Rita. I just assumed they were looking at those plans. So. All right, Jim, I think you got an action item to go.
Yeah.
Go take a look at that.
One other item was the updated plant species list. Commissioner Berger is working on that to make it more user-friendly. She does not have it pared down yet, but she's still working on that. And those were the 3 items that they discussed at their meeting.
Well, thank you for that update.
You're welcome.
Everyone okay if I keep us moving? I'll do my best. The next item is the review of the Economic Development Commission meeting from this morning. And Trustee Michaud may want to provide an update. Or
Sure.
Roger's here, he might want to too.
I'm happy to get started, and Roger, feel free to chip in if I miss something. They're continuing to do good work. I thought it was a great meeting. One of the things there, a bunch of information has come out about the Main Street Loan Program. So they're kind of coordinating to find out about all of the PPP programs out there and trying to make them available to our businesses. One of the other big discussions that we're talking about is trying to maybe collaborate with all of the businesses and maybe the board at some point, if we can come up with some ideas about a tent structure or something to provide outdoor dining for multiple restaurants. So we're looking at tents or maybe this is something the businesses do themselves, but just trying to support our restaurants through the winter months with all of these restrictions. And I think Erwin was going to reach out to Sam Toya and talk to him about some of the things they might be doing. I guess the big thing is we're working on the flow chart for businesses coming into Long Grove. And I would encourage, I don't know if any of you have had a chance, it's been uploaded to the Google Drive. One of the big questions I have, and I wanted to get your feedback on it, is there is in step 3, Dave kind of helped Mike Elliott get this started. There's a point where how are we getting the EDC involved in this? And there's been kind of some debate with us in the past. When do we get EDC involved? And so if you can look at the flow chart under step 3, there's, the pre-application meeting with the village president, trustee, the PCZBA, and we proposed the EDC chair. And I kind of wanted to find out, rather than having that in parentheses, if we could take that out of parentheses and make that part of the process. Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
Jenny, I've never seen that. I've
Yes.
never seen that, and I don't see where it is on our Google Drive. Is there does the EDC have a separate area that we can't access? But could it be shared with us?
Denise, are you still on? She had said she'd put it on the board drive.
I did put it on the main board drive. Bill, I did just email it to you. So if you want to put it up on the screen, you can.
Okay, so you just emailed it. Okay. Yeah, I was looking through trying to find it. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I see the board drive, but I don't see anything that looks. So okay.
Yeah, you just sent it. It's attached right to this. No, it's not.
Hold on, let me take a look.
It says TIF projections or something.
So, I mean, we can.
Oh, I got it now. I see it. Okay. I can bring it up. Let's see. It's I'll share it right now.
Is it
You're-
something we should review or we could do now?
I don't know. I don't know if it's something we can fully review.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I can show you what it looks like, but I don't think we should spend the time reviewing it.
Right. I just want, it's something that I wanted you guys to think about. We're gonna send it out to a couple businesses and have them go through the steps and get some feedback from them. But I would love your feedback on the process. So if you get a chance.
Could you explain where this is?
That's
So
what I was
this will
asking,
be
Bobby.
on our
Yes,
website.
I can send it, I'll send it out to everybody on the board. It's in the Google Drive, but it's not in the, like the board packet. But I'll just send it to everybody.
That'd be great, Denise. Thank you. I'm going to stop sharing.
Yeah. So maybe if you could look at it, maybe we can talk about it at the next meeting. And so, but it would be something that would be on under the EDC tab that would help businesses that were coming to Long Grove kind of navigate the process, just kind of streamlining the process. So keep that in mind as you look at it, and then we can talk about it in a couple weeks. And then just, I don't know if you have a chance to, we did another How'd You Do It with White Oaks, and it was excellent. They had they did such a good job. Kevin O'Connor did a really great job, and White Oak they had really nice things to say about Long Grove. So we're going to keep moving forward with those, and we're going to reach out to maybe 83 RV, Skycrest, or Matt Holdings as potential. And then Denise had brought up about maybe reaching out to businesses again and checking in with them and seeing how they're doing. So I think that's kind of it. So end of report, unless you guys have any questions.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks for the great work. We appreciate it. Moving right along is the next item is review and discuss the draft construction engineering agreement for the construction of the engineering services for North Kruger Road. And we did have a meeting last week to review the revised proposal from Gaywalt. And I'm not sure who wants to take the lead on discussing this, Bill, or Jeff, do you want to take the lead?
Yeah, I think just as an overview, we discussed last week the process that we followed in pre-qualifying Jeff's firm for construction engineering services and using the quality-based selection process. That was the important first step to find out who we felt is most qualified to do the construction engineering. The second part is securing the contractual relationship, and that's where pricing is introduced into the into the discussion. Jeff has presented, and I'm going to defer to him to kind of walk us through some of the issues. The progression of pricing based on the methodology of anchoring construction engineering services to the project pricing. And we talked in committee on the problems that brings forward. When it creeps forward, we acknowledge that there was risk associated, much more risk to the engineers than in the design phase, which were basically in full control. They're really at the hands of the contractors, which are bid out obviously for their work. And after looking at the risk assessment and the project, and I think Jeff did some additional work on where the pricing was coming in with other Lake County projects through the Council of Mayors, is offering a price adjustment to reflect what I believe is the closest to comparable markets that we have. So I think we've got a good one. I certainly would recommend staying with Gaywalt Hamilton as our construction engineering services. I think we'd take a misstep and delay the project if we tried to reopen the QBS system. Looking at the information that Jeff provided, I think we've got a pretty good pricing structure. So it would be my recommendation that we secure Gaywalt Hamilton for these services. But what I'd like Jeff to do is kind Jeff, review with the board your methodology since our last meeting and with our committee meeting that we had, and how you reach your conclusion and recommendation.
Certainly. Thank you, Bill. So just one thing that I did want to say is we're in the process of transitioning this project from design to construction with a scheduled bid letting in early March. So with that, we are on schedule to get the draft phase 3 construction engineering agreements to the Lake County Council of Mayors and IDOT by November 3rd. The goal of the discussion is going to be to get an accurate phase 3 engineering proposal that the board agrees with, so we can send that in draft form to the council in here in a week and a half. The final approval of the agreement is not tonight. That needs to happen for submittal to them in January. So the final approval of the agreement will be in December sometime. So just stepping back a minute, the phase 3 construction engineering at the beginning of a project is a budgetary number, usually estimated at 10%. At this point of the project, now that we're into a proposal, it's based on man hours. The man hours is just that, it's the hours incurred and spent on a project times the billing rate. So that's how the proposal price is determined. And once construction starts, that's also how payments are going to be made, hours times the billing rate. So with that said, one way to look at the proposal that's in front of you tonight is a time and material not to exceed. So time and material being the staff cost, the not to exceed is the final number that you're going to see in front of you. The man hours that are proposed are based on Gaywalt Hamilton's experience of projects and construction, and in this case, specifically federally funded projects. So the phase 3 engineering agreement originally came before the board in December of last year, and it's been through a few iterations. And the proposal that was prepared last week and is included in the board packet has a final cost or a time and material not to exceed cost, of $181,490. So I want to just take a few minutes, if I could, just to kind of explain some of the differences between what we talked about 2 weeks ago and the proposal that's in the board packet today, and then also some of the differences and how it changed from December of last year, which was submitted in draft form to the Lake County Council in January of this year, and today. So 2 weeks ago, had a proposal, $200,490. The one in the board packet, as I said, was $181,490. So a difference of $19,000. So how and why did that happen? So after the board meeting last week and the discussion that Bill, Rita, and I had last week, Gaywalt Hamilton took a look at the project, assessed the risk of the construction, and also looked at the current construction climate. Last Friday, there was a IDOT bid letting, and on that letting was another federally funded project in Lake County that is also in the surface transportation project, which North Kruger Road is. What happened on Friday with that particular project, two things. One, there was 8 bidders on it, and 2, the price came in about 10% lower than the engineer's estimate. That was similar to what Long Grove experienced with Cuba Road this summer. As you may remember, we rebid Cuba Road and got the same things. We got more contractors than bid it early this year, and also a price that was lower. So two takeaways from that. One, contractors are hungry for work and looking to fill up their plate. And also the pricing from the contractor is becoming reflective of the pace that they can complete their contract and their work. So the man hours that changed from 2 weeks ago to today went down 212 hours. And that is largely based on our projections of what the pace of this project is going to be. You know, we're projecting a project that's 3 to 4 months long, 16 weeks, and we are anticipating the most active portion of that project is going to be about 10 weeks long. So the 10 weeks is going to be when the contractor's doing a lot of the heavy lifting. You know, they're going to get past the initial prep work, and you know, it's not going to be as intense as when they're closing out the project, doing punch lists and things like that. I mentioned that because in that 10 weeks, there's going to be both the construction observation staff out there, and there's also going to be a junior staff out there that is going to assist with doing the paperwork and making sure that all the reporting and documentation is up to snuff for this federally funded project. The reduction and relooking at the pace of the project allows that junior staffer to be down 190 hours from what was discussed 2 weeks ago. That 190 hours translates into a cost reduction of $13,000. There was also a couple other changes from 2 weeks ago to today. There is a category for an engineering technician 5, which is a very seasoned engineering technician, construction observation staff. Took his hours down. Again, this one is more based on the risk of the project, and found a savings there of $11,000. And with those two reductions, we juggled around some other times. There was some slight increases for a couple of the other billing categories, but it resulted in a price reduction of $19,000. Again, it's based on the man hours that we are anticipating for this project, and based on our experience and you know, the current climate and the risk. I did want to circle back into some of the discussion that we had 2 weeks ago of, you know, the cost increase from January of this year, which was $153,862, and the discussion last week was comparing that to the $200,490 number. But I want to compare the $153,862 to the current proposal, which is $181,490. Again, that's the major driver of that is man hours. There was an increase of 226 hours between January and today. And I just wanted to go through really the 4 big drivers of that and offer some narrative on that. The first is the junior staffer. As I mentioned, that's the staff that's going to be out there to do the documentation during the heavy lifting, the most active portion of the project. With a federally funded project, there is a volume of paperwork that needs to be done and reporting. So having 2 staffers out there doing this is what we have found to be the most efficient, both for a smooth project during construction and then also closing this project out when we're done. The other change that affects the junior staffer is the reporting change. IDOT since January has changed how they take in their paperwork. They use a reporting system now called CMMS as opposed to what they used previously. The new system unfortunately sometimes results in more time and not only filling it out, but with the new reporting metrics, we're finding that IDOT is reviewing the reports with a little bit more care and scrutiny. The other changes, the engineering technician 3, which is the resident engineer that's going to be on the project. His hours between January and today went up 70 hours. In January, we were estimating 15 weeks for the construction at 50 hours a week. Today, we're anticipating 16 weeks at 50 hours a week. So the time does increase. The duration of the contract is a function of the cost and the labor operations that are needed to complete the work. And that is a formula prescribed by IDOT. So there are times where the contractors are going to work more than 10 hours a day. We've seen that. Long Grove experienced that as well on some of the previous projects, specifically the water main projects and the roadway downtown. But on average, we think that, and we project that the average week will be 50 hours. So two other things that I did want to highlight, changes December to today. The civil engineer 4 category, which is either going to be the village engineer or the design engineer, their hours went up 54 hours. So over 16 weeks, that's a little less than 3 hours a week. And the reason that those hours were put into the contract was to benefit the village to have one of those personnel available and participating in the project, both on-site observation if needed, but also in the weekly progress meetings to help with the transition of the project from the design to the construction, to help with the questions and make sure that everything that had been discussed in the design, and then also even previously at the conceptualization of the project and in the phase 1 feasibility gets included and increased and included and done as part of the construction. Just finally, I just want to note the senior technician, that ET5 that I mentioned earlier, between January and today, looking at the project, we trimmed and reduced his hours by 28, taking a look at the project, the risk, the involvement, and the overall construction climate. Just looked at that and made the determination that that is a place where we can reduce his involvement. So in the board packet was a summary with a whole lot of numbers on it, but between January and today, the big things that the big tasks that increased were the construction observation by the resident engineer and the construction observation by the junior staffer. Again, the senior resident engineer, his hours went from 750 to 800 hours. That's 15 weeks at 50 hours, changed to 16 weeks at 50 hours a week. And then the engineering technician, his hours also changed similarly from 320 hours to 450 hours, which is 8 weeks at 40 hours back in January is what we were projecting, and 10 weeks at 45 hours is what we're projecting now. The 10 weeks again being the heavy lifting portion of it. In January, the 320 hours was reflective of the previous documentation reporting system. So that's a little bit of a breakdown. That was some of the discussion that we had 2 weeks ago. So all of that put together, the proposal in front of you is for 1,799 man hours, a time and material not to exceed cost of $181,490, which is 10.78% of the engineer's estimated construction cost, which, as I mentioned at the beginning of the project, you usually put 10% in there as a budgetary number. And with this project, with the construction costs, increasing over the last year, we're still, right around 10%. Looking at similar projects that are also in the program, construction engineering is usually 10 to 12%. That's how it shakes out. So we're right in that percentage. But again, the cost, the $181,490, is driven by the man hours and what we anticipate and expect is going to be needed to do this job. Again, payments will be made labor hours times the billing rate. So if the contractor, I mentioned, the pace of the work is significantly expedited over that 16 weeks that we are projecting, that's cost savings that won't have to be incurred and invoiced. So again, just here's the proposal. The draft is due to the Council of Mayors and IDOT November 23rd, when I have the discussion and come to an agreement that and a number that the board is comfortable with, so we can send it off to the council and IDOT. Like I said, it's not set in stone yet, but any changes after the draft is submitted, is additional process and things like that we have to go through to get that approved. So with that, if there's any questions that I can answer, I'd be happy to address them.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah. I don't know how to verbalize it. Jeff, thanks for the information. Thanks for the breakdown. Thanks for the fine tuning and cost reduction. I just, I'm not sure, maybe we ought to take it offline. I just don't understand why we actually have all those people sitting out there watching a construction crew. It just, boy, I'm having a tough time internalizing it. So 1,700 hours divided by 16 weeks-ish, right? That's like 112 man hours of engineers sitting around per week of looking at a construction crew. I just don't understand it. I'm just having a real tough time just visualizing how that makes sense to me. So again, maybe we could take that offline. It's not a specific question. It's just, I just don't get it. I really, truly don't. But maybe I do have a question. What is, or who is, or how do we drive expedited construction so that we can minimize our engineering costs, per some of your last comments? I mean, who's actually doing that? How do we drive it? Is that a Bill thing? Do we have Bill go out there and sit on top of you guys, or do you guys sit up on top of the crew? Or, I mean, it's kind of a conflict of interest in a sense, in that the longer it goes, the more Gaywalt gets paid. So who's actually driving the expediting of the project?
So the phase 3 is construction oversight. It's not construction management. Unfortunately, with the state projects, contractor is given X man hour or working days, excuse me.
Okay.
So that is prescribed to them. So there's not a hard and fast completion date, but it's the working days. It's it's coming down to Gaywalt, when the contractor is out there, overseeing what they're doing. When they're not out there, obviously, those are the days that aren't charged.
I'm sorry, say that again. So you said, so Gaywalt's out there, but those aren't days getting charged.
Oh, those aren't days that hours are, sorry about that. Those are days that if the contractor's not out there, Gaywalt is not out
I
there
see.
either. So those are hours not charged to the project.
So just so I understand, you guys literally have like 2.5 guys just sitting out there with them doing paperwork and watching them? I mean, is that kind of what this boils down to?
That's what
So-
happened on Old McHenry Road also with Lake County.
Wow.
We had the same thing. I was because I remember looking at the invoices and apparently part of that is, I mean, it's your answer, Jeff, but I'm just saying this is not new, Chris.
Well, okay, thanks, Ann. I understand. I'm just trying to understand it so I can internalize it, just to understand it.
Yeah.
I'll be quiet just
It's
to
not
keep
mine.
things
It's not
moving.
mine to answer. I'm just, I just,
Yeah.
I'm Jeff to answer. Sorry.
Here's the tough part about this is we're kind of out of time to get this
Yeah.
into the project. So we really don't have a choice, right? The good news is that Jeff took the time to study, go through everything, came back with a fine tooth comb. I think what was clear to me is this is a not to exceed bid, which means that it can be less, right? It is higher than the initial quote, but still less than what was initially put out there, and we're kind of out of time. So we're going to have to move forward with it unless somebody really objects.
I wanna thank everybody for really dissecting this. I don't think we've ever quite had a contract that we've dissected to this degree. But much of engineering always, to me, seems overkill. And yet, having watched the bridge project as closely as I did, which I thought the cost was outrageous. And then I saw what they did day by day, and it all kind of made more sense that it is expensive, and God forbid we didn't have good oversight and all of that. So thank you, Jeff and Bill and Rita for doing that. I have really two questions. Originally, back some time ago, I think it was Gaywalt who marked the trees that were going to be removed. I think people have forgotten. And I know, as I recall, there were some that were, there were various categories of marked trees. I think it's really important for our residents to know ahead of time what's going to be taken down so that they're not shocked. Because I think every time you do a road project and the trees come down, it's like a gut punch to people who love trees. So if we could, would that be possible to do that?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I
Yeah,
mean,
and
don't send
Bobby,
an engineer to do it.
I think a lot of those tags are still on the trees.
You know, I drive through there all the time and I don't see them. They may be there, but they may be faded. But if we could just kind of get some kind of an alert at the appropriate time, not the day before, but a month before kind of thing, to remind people that this is going to happen.
Great
I
idea.
think it's a good call, Bobby. And I would also even echo almost recommunicating. There's some really good communications early in this project, including, as I recall, you know, knowing people who live over there, a lot of questions about the darn light at Route 22, and just reiterating that these are not the same project, even though everybody really wants that light.
Right. Well, we'll obviously have to do that. And then this may seem like a really bizarre question, but I have to ask it. And that is there any way to save the thousands of daffodils that are in there?
where exactly are the daffodils?
They're all along the road.
All along the sides there?
Yeah. There are thousands of them.
So let me
Well,
ask this question,
thousands, but-
because they're going to be blooming in the spring. When would the project start? Is that something that could be looked at? Because you'll actually be able to see them at that point.
Right.
Good
Yeah,
point.
that's what I was thinking through. So with a March letting, we're, the project getting under construction mid to late May is probably the best case scenario.
Oh, but that's kind of when they've died off anyway. The trick is how to get the bulbs up and sift through all that stuff.
Yeah, but if it's possible and reasonable, it would be, and because knowing who planted them, you know, those were planted 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Bobby, maybe this is something we could talk to the park district about, getting like a group of volunteers to go out and dig up.
Ooh, that's an idea. That's an idea.
Earth Day.
Yeah,
Almost an Earth Day project.
Ooh, Earth Day, I like that.
Okay.
Well, that's a great idea too, and we'll be able to see them because it'll be in the spring, so you'll know where they're at. So
Yeah, okay.
can't see them now.
Do you need a motion or anything?
No, I don't think so. I think this is direction. Is everyone okay with proceeding here? There's no vote or anything. It's just direction.
I think the next time you'll see this will be in December when we have the agreement filed, Jeff.
Yeah, so we send the drafts and it's a couple weeks for the council, mayors and IDOT to look at it, make sure that everything is in order on their end. And if there's any changes, make them, and then it'll come to the board for approval.
If anyone objects now, please, share that right now, or else hold your peace, please, because it's going to get even harder later.
Oh, let's build a road.
Cool. Thank you. Rita, you're good too?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool. Just
How
making
many times did we go through this, Jeff?
sure. I know.
I got it all memorized now.
Thank you.
We're good. Yeah, it's fine.
All right. Jeff, thank
Thank
you. And sorry to torture you like that, but we really appreciate it. So thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
All right. You're still up. We're not letting you go.
Oh, no. Just kidding.
So you can talk less in these next couple of items, though.
Okay.
This is your, it's specifically called out your report. And I think the bridge is maybe the first item. Cuba Road, you might want to talk about.
Okay, so I'll leave the bridge for last. That might have more discussion than some of these other ones. Cuba Road, for all intents and purposes, that project is substantially complete, minus the pavement striping. Still looking to get that scheduled and done. So got some fresh new asphalt out there. Another item that I want to highlight, the electrical repairs have been done over at the water treatment plant. The electrician was out there to replace the circuit breaker and the wire, and the deep well number 1 pump was turned back on successfully. So there was some concern that there may have been some impact with that electrical surge with that pump, but that turned out to not be the case. So that was wonderful news as well. So the bridge, the Alliance contractors completed the repair work on the underside of the bridge today. There was that cracked weld at the southeast corner and that needed to be repaired, and what was determined by the structural engineers, both the village's national inspection manager and also the design engineer of record, was though that same welding configuration was at all 4 corners, and better to address that now with the work. So the bridge unfortunately was closed for the better part of last week, but the work was done today, or yesterday, excuse me, and the bridge was opened. They did also address the banging and clacking noise at the east side of the bridge. Certainly much better than it was before, but I think that specific item we're going to need to keep eyes and ears on. So maybe a poor choice of words, but keep monitoring that. So the bridge, that's where that is with Alliance. As I mentioned at the last board meeting, that was completed as a warranty item. So that was So the Alliance agreed to that and no additional charge to the contract for that.
Hey, Jeff, what's the root cause? Do we know?
The cause for that, don't know.
Okay.
Don't know for sure.
Anybody going to do a failure analysis on those wells, on that well joint, or not? Or we just
I
cover it up
certainly
and put
won't,
more
but
metal in
one
it?
of the structurals, I don't think they did.
Okay, so how do we know it's good? Are we sure it's good, or?
So the mending plate, if you will, they put a 2-foot long plate that has a series of 4 bolts on each side of that weld
Gotcha.
to take the tension instead of trying to redo a failed weld.
Okay, thank you. Understood.
The other item on the bridge, Trustee O'Reilly and Trustee Nora and myself met out there to review the signage and take down some signs, move some signs, and in one case raise a sign so that some mailboxes don't obstruct the view. And Gila Township is in process of getting the two new signs that they need and scheduling the repair work. They've been helping out with closing the bridge and opening the bridge, and that was occupying their efforts. But I'm expecting that the signage work be complete either late this week or next week.
Can we talk some more about the bridge?
Absolutely.
Something that I saw recently that I think could be a really strong impact, and it is a stop sign that has lights all the way around it that are not on. This particular one senses a vehicle coming, and the bright lights turn on. I think they're red lights turn on. And Jeff, you were going to look into whether those. Oh, and it's also solar powered. And Jeff, you were going to look into whether those sensors could sense size.
So yeah, the stop signs, they're motion activated, and there's different manufacturers and types as far as number of lights and the brightness. The first one that I saw was a stop sign that when it was flashing, you can see it from a mile away, probably a little bit too much light. The other thing with those motion sensors is you can dial them down so they're not triggered by cars in the distance. I guess in my mind, I had fears that if it's not set properly, every car going on Old McHenry Road is going to set it off. So you can do that. You can adjust that. As Bobby mentioned, you want all the vehicles to stop and particularly draw attention to those vehicles that are over height, to a sign that's, flashing and things like that. So we're looking into that, Bobby, and how that can be best accomplished. The initial response was, you need some other apparatus like a beam, across the road that they would have to cut and wire it to the stop sign, but there's got to be a better way.
Well, yeah, you can't stop them. You can't stop them from going, but you can make them aware. And so I think we need to look further at this. The other thing that I think is going to turn out to be really critical, and that is the local traffic only designation and signs. I don't know if Aaron Underwood is on this meeting. He knows more about it than I do. But to make Google and Waze and everyone else stop routing cars and trucks through that bridge is probably our only answer is to make them stop going through there.
I don't see Aaron here tonight, Bobby, so
Pardon me?
Aaron's not here tonight.
Oh, okay, okay. Because he sent us links, and then if you play with it, you can also see how they're routing cars through there. And so I know that I've seen places that have local traffic only. I've never known what it meant. And I've tended to ignore this. And I certainly would not see us as enforcing this, but it would be a method to make them stop routing them.
It's kind of a two-edged sword though, is it not? Since it's a shopping area, and on the one hand, I understand limiting. On the other hand, you kind of want as many people to go through theirs and stop, not to pass through, but to go through and stop.
Yeah, but people, if they know they're going shopping, they're not looking, you know. I don't see it as a useful tool for anything other than the Googles of the world.
One of the things I had said at one of those meetings when we had talked about this was what I'd like to see for anyone who might have just gone off that way and seen this cute little downtown they wanted to come back to, maybe some kind of sort of additional sign. We have historic downtown signs elsewhere, but maybe just adding one over by RPC in 53 to alert anyone who is driving by and would be routed that way to see historic downtown, and if that intrigues them, they can come back.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bobby.
I just think it's the way that we're going to get most of the vehicles to not go through there. I don't know what else we can do to stop the routing. Because if you play with it, you'll find if you come from the north and you're going west, they're going to take you through the bridge, which is ridiculous for the wear and tear of the bridge. And then my third thing is that with the weather changing, with the holidays coming, I think it's time we have to fix it. We have to fix the cover and get it looking nice again and hope, I guess, at this point.
Well, and I'm going to just dovetail on that. I got a text message and I called John Kopecki back last week at the end of the week, and he said that their PR person had made contact with Disney, that Disney may want to film something during the holidays, a scene for something. So I don't know any more than that, but I thought I would share it with you. I don't know anything more than that, but obviously the bridge being fixed would be needed. Pardon?
I know a little more if you want to know. They're also looking at Naperville and St. Charles, and they really, really, really love Long Grove. It would be their first choice, but it's going to be hard. We have to go around and get property owners, approval. So they may find too many obstacles with us, but we are their desired location.
Well, and everybody started getting up all their Christmas stuff. The poles are done and lights are going, and so I think it's time. I think we have to do it.
Yep. So the question was, though, what's the design? Wasn't there some breakaways or something like that?
Well, Chuck,
I believe we wanted to flatten that arch out a little bit, similar to the older construction prior to the box truck destroying the whole thing. And Jeff, I know I've asked you this before. I know we need numbers. Have you had a chance to go out to anybody to get quotes?
The only thing that Carmichael Construction, and I'll share with the rest of the board. The only thing that I've gotten so far that the steel, the leading edge, they gave a ballpark figure of $6,000 to $10,000 to do that on each side. So again,
I'll do it for
like
free.
exactly like I mentioned when we were out in the field, that it seemed that they were looking at that as like a change order type item rather than a give us your best number. So I have not received other numbers yet, but I'll get those
Mhm.
due
Does
haste.
that have to be done at the same time that we're replacing the board?
Well, it may not have to, but when we replace those boards, they have to be up at the level of the steel.
Right,
Or
right.
just above it, because we're gonna be right back where we are today if we let those boards drop below that steel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
were also-
I agree with Chuck that it doesn't have to be, but you're going to get a nicer product if it is done at the same time. You'll use the steel as your trim plate, if you will, or where the boards end.
Yep.
Also, doing it at the same time, getting the steel on at the same time the boards are done. Goal is to protect the boards, so that would be good.
It certainly makes sense, but on the other hand,
Yeah.
weather is a coming.
Yeah, yeah.
And if we could get really moving on it and get it done, that would be a good thing.
We were also going to get a second bid on cameras. Have we?
Bill's been, Bill.
Yeah,
calling.
I haven't put that together, but I want to get on the street quotes and sort of design concepts, given the problem, and give it to 3 or 4 security companies and let them come up with some solutions. So we have a concept for what might be creative for us. So yeah, that needs to get in there, because that's a key to enforcement on some of these things as well. So.
Of course, if we get a stop sign and it blinks.
I like that.
I like that.
Yeah.
You're not
It's
gonna
gotta
go
be-
through it.
It's got to be located where they can turn into Stemple and turn
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
If it's past that, it's kind of a moot
Well,
point.
if because I've seen them operating, it's a distance between the sense of the car and the lights turning on.
Mhm.
And people don't make it turn on, so it's sensitive enough to that. But and so you could have it close to the bridge, but popping on much earlier.
And earlier, yeah.
Get there. And I, with all of the different things, although, there's a place up on 60 that has a sign that must be 6 feet across that says no trucks, which would not be terribly practical for us.
Kill the
Very attractive
ambiance.
either. Yeah.
Jeff, I wonder, do you think Carmichael was given a price thinking that they've got to give us some type of curved or arched piece of steel? Because I envision just a straight steel wide enough to pick up the width of the car or truck that is going to pass underneath it, and not necessarily all the way to the ends and the contours of wood.
Curved steel would be $112,000.
Well, I mean, 6 to 10 grand.
On one side.
Yeah. If you just want boards, that's just only 12 to 20 grand each side.
Just respectfully, I don't know that our job is to engineer that. I think our job is to ask for a result.
I don't disagree. I was just questioning where the heck did Carmichael pull that number out of? And it seems like they were either treating it as a change order, like Jeff said, and that's where they make their money, or they had a completely different vision as to what we wanted versus what Jeff and Bobby and I talked about. So, no, I'm not in the business of designing.
So,
Well, if we could, Jeff, if we could really push forward and get something resolved in the very near future,
Certainly.
Perfect. Thank you, Bobby. That's exactly what I was going to do is get Jeff to get a commitment there to get something going here so we can make a decision. Thank you. Are we, anything else for Jeff's report? Otherwise, I'll keep us moving.
Do I get a report?
You will. Do you want to report under Jeff or do you want to report under you?
You know what? Doesn't make any difference.
So,
Maybe it's a really dumb question. Did I miss the engineer report?
well, so no, it ended up getting put in the back of the manager's report when Bill published it yesterday.
Okay.
So go to the very back of it. It's behind. There's also Jim Hoag's report too. So if you go to the back of it, it didn't get into the board packet in time, but it got there last night. So I mean, it's.
Oh, okay.
You'll see it. I mean, it's cool that the well's working too, which is great. And I know Jeff commented on that as well. So, which was a big thing. We were worried about something being wrong with the pump and there's not. So I don't think you said that, but you said you got it working, right? So, which is what I took out of that last night.
Yep, got it working. No damage, started up and is running great.
Are we protected from that happening again?
What's that?
Are we
Will it happen again?
from that happening again?
So the electrical work that OK did, they also found some wire connections that had become either loose over time or the wire was past the recommended bend in them. So, which is also not good for conductivity. So with the circuit breaker replacement and doing the wire, they cleaned up those things as well. So the other thing that's out there is in the event that something like this or something similar does happen, that the error codes are coming out a lot clearer and faster rather than that squawk box that Mike Grinnell referred to it as. We're looking at getting the proposals for that.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Go ahead, Rita. We'll move your report up if because it's kind of related probably to all this.
Yeah, just really quickly, I had a conversation with a total stranger this afternoon. We were having to wait outside because they only allow one customer in the shop at a time. And she said, this whole thing is just so stupid. I'm just fed up with it. And I said, what's that? She said, this stupid mask stuff and the state. And she said, it's just, everything is so frustrating. And I said, sounds like you had a rough day. She said, you know what? She said, do you know anything about Long Grove? She said, do you know where it is? I said, yes. Yeah. She said, you've heard of it. You've been there? I said, yes. She said, so my girlfriend and I were taking the last nice weather day and we went into Long Grove because we wanted to shop. And she said, do you know that because of this pandemic, 75% of those stores are closed? I said, pardon me? I said, in Long Grove? I said, you mean they were just closed for lunch? She said, no, they're out of business. She said, not a store was open. We were so disappointed. I'm like, oh my God. And I said,
Were they in Long Grove, Iowa?
She just was one of those talkative ladies. And I'm like, I said, you mean, she said, they just aren't open for business. And she said, I guess it's because they're not getting any traffic. She said, it's this pandemic. It's just ruining everybody. And I said, oh, well, thanks for letting me know that. And I had no words left for the lady, it's like, what in the world? So I know the coffee shop is open. I know that the chocolate shop is open. I know Mike Marr's open and within reach, but I don't know where in the world she was. But
she was looking for the donut shop. Maybe that was her problem.
Downtown Long Grove, 75% of those stores are closed. So,
Well, thank you for sharing that positive information. or
yeah, but
perspective.
you know, that's obviously not good. And
That's reality.
I'll try to wander down there tomorrow and see what my experience is, but
I was there over the weekend. The town was hopping.
yeah, but this
I-
is a Tuesday. The
I'm-
ladies wanted to shop, you know?
So many
I know,
places
but
closed
it-
on Tuesdays.
I'm sorry, Bobby.
Many places are closed on Tuesdays.
I thought it was Monday.
No, Tuesdays.
No, the taverns, I think, is closed on Tuesday, aren't they? Yeah. Yeah. So it could be it. I don't know. I mean, I tend to go out, after hours, and yeah, I see a lot of people. So, I see a different thing, like, what can I tell you?
Wanting to spend
I
their
thought-
money.
I saw the same. I mean, it was noticeably active over the weekend.
And
I
that's,
thought so.
that's
I was
when
very pleased.
yeah, I see
I-
most people there then.
We ate
It's
dinner
been
at the Chatterbox
crazy
on Friday
active
night,
lately.
and we ate dinner at the Chatterbox on Friday, and on Saturday night we ate dinner, not in the downtown, at the Wood Fire Tavern, right? So,
You know, it was the weather. Everybody was out this weekend. I think, but anyway, I thought it was
Jesse did
I thought it was
movies.
interesting.
Jesse did a pop-up movie night, and he sold every single square that he had. With Scarecrow, we had 130 some people come in and do Scarecrow. It has been so crazy busy, even on weekdays lately. So that's just what I see.
That's good.
The scary thing is this woman, not knowing Rita, was glad to share that Long Grow's of Ghost Town.
Right.
That's really what worries me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
How do we get the word out that we're far from that?
I think you got to challenge her too. Did you ask her where she went and all those kinds of things? So,
She was very garrulous. You know, you only had to ask one question and you got a whole lot of
got it.
paragraphs.
You couldn't get a word edgewise in.
Well,
Okay.
You know. Anyway.
All right.
But you are aware of
more
Long Grove,
report?
right, Rita?
Say
You know
again.
where Long Grove is, Rita? I just want to make sure.
Maybe if the shop owners knew that, it would just say closed on Tuesdays or something, you know. Who knows? Who knows?
Any more report, Rita?
No, that's plenty.
All right, thank you. So if I can, I'm going to move into my report. So we met on Thursday. We interviewed Baker Tilly, right? We had a presentation from them. So out of that meeting, I was asked to check some references. So I did my best, and I was able to check with 2 for each. And so I'll just give a brief report if I can. Baker Tilly, I spoke with David Klinkhammer, and I think Jenny knows who that individual is, who's on the City Council of Eau Claire, member at large. And he described how they used the Baker Tilly, in particular Sharon Klump, 3 times. It was very, very positive in regards to Sharon, how she handles herself, how she communicates, the insight she provides. He talked about one of the city managers that they recently hired, and they only the contract was only for 2 years, and it was a contract where they had to renew it, and it required board approval. And well, I guess he got in a little bit of a run-in with some of the trustees, so they didn't renew it. So now they have an interim manager, so they're out searching again. But he was very complimentary of that manager that they didn't keep on. And he talked about the process and how they narrowed it down, and thought that Baker Tilly did a very good job, working through the whole process. I spoke yesterday to Jim Patterson, who's the president of the city of Glenview. They used Baker Tilly to hire their village manager maybe 3 years ago. Sharon Klump was the lead. Back then, though, it wasn't Baker Tilly, it was the Waters and Company, which was part of the Springstead Group. And Baker Tilly acquired them. Jim was very positive about Sharon and how she led the effort. They hired Matt Foreman, who was previously the village manager of Lindenhurst. And he said that Matt had the style they were looking for. But what was interesting, what he said was they relied on 10 video interviews, and this is even before COVID, right? And from those video interviews, then they narrowed it down to 4. They conducted live interviews, which one candidate, jumped out at them and stood out at them, and it was Matt. So it was just interesting the way he talked about the video interviews, and he thought that was good. The other thing, so I also spoke this morning with Lincoln Knight, who is the mayor of Wakanda, and I also spoke this afternoon with Karen Dark, who is the village president of Barrington. These are a little bit different because I know them both. But what was very interesting with Paul Harlow from HR Gov, this is in regards to HR Gov, they said that they've used them 3 times, but that they were very positive about Paul Harlow. They said that he's a good listener. He did all the interviews. He provided great feedback. If they did another search, they would certainly use Paul again. Paul categorized the candidates into 3 buckets based on the criteria that the board put together. They selected 4 to interview out of the 9 that they got back. And he talked about the grading system they use. He said it was a really good experience. What was interesting that he said, though, is that they selected this guy from Grays Lake who worked under Mike Ellis. And he was early on in his name was Kevin. He was early on in his career. And so it turned out to be a great hire. Here's a person that didn't have a lot of experience. He was an assistant manager. And the board was a little bit nervous because of his youthful look and how youthful he was, but he stepped in and he's done a really good job. And so from a salary perspective, he's very affordable. And they're very bullish on him and how that's worked out for him. And then Karen Dark from the village president of Barrington had a great experience with HR Gov. They continue to use them too as well. They ran several searches with them. They hired Scott Anderson as their village manager. He was previously with the Buffalo Grove finance director. Bill Balling probably knows him. She said the process worked well. They created a brochure. They received 50 to 70 resumes. Once they narrowed it down, they created a booklet for the group. They had about 7 that they actually interviewed. And they did use video interviews as part of their process as well. Took them about 4 months to get it all done. She described them as very good. The only instance they had was a long time ago. They had an issue when they used them. And, but that was 15, 16 years ago. So from then on, they've used them for, multiple things, finance director, fire chief, village manager, et cetera. So I think what I heard from everyone I talked to, the person that you're hiring the company, but it's also the individual too. And they were both positive either way. So that's what I got for you. Hope that helps.
Thank you for that very much, taking that time.
You're welcome. So I don't know where you want to go with it. In my opinion, they're both good companies. The fees for HR Gov was less. What was interesting is Paul was not a very dynamic speaker, but yet when I talked to Lincoln Knight, who I respect, he's like, that guy did a really good job for us. So, some people don't present well sometimes, but they're good at their role. So, I found that interesting.
What was the cost with them for the video? That there was an extra charge, as I recall.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like the costs of any of them are going to be very similar, if I recall the number.
I still would like to know.
Yeah, I saved it on my.
It was like 20 plus videos versus 24 including videos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's my recollection.
Yeah, I'm looking for it now on the proposal. Let's see, it was 25,000 for Baker Tilly, and what did it all include? screening of applicants, the submission of recommended semifinalists, background checks. You know, I think that we're going to have to ask about the video piece because
I thought with Baker Tilly, it was included,
Was.
Yes.
but
Yes.
that with HR Gov, it was not. And I'm not looking at the cost as much as I am why they wouldn't include that as part of their package. I think it's such a critical piece.
Because they're using an outside party to do the videos. And I
HR
think they,
Gov is.
yeah, I think HR Gov said they use like another party to do the videos and they had a fee for that. And I thought it was $200 per video, but that's just from memory.
Well, that doesn't explain why they wouldn't use it as part of their package. I just wonder.
Maybe because pre-COVID, people liked the person-to-person better. Now the interview is kind of, or the video is kind of mandatory, really.
Well, let's not confuse a pre-recorded video with a video Zoom call, right?
Right, right.
Okay, so let's just make sure we keep those two separate because we're free to do live interviews with these candidates on a Zoom type call, right? And that's a video call. I think the packages from both parties included pre-scripted videos where the candidates answered questions that were pre-written and those were recorded and then distributed to us. So I think we just need to make sure we're clear on the two different things.
As I recall with Baker Tilly, the candidates weren't aware of what those questions were going to be.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't know the HR Gov approach, so I'll just leave it at that. I do have a question for Bill Jacob. Is HR Gov the same group of people you talked to when you first reached out inquiring about Bill Balling, when we just wanted to hire Bill to kind of get our hands around the operations of the village?
Well, they have an HR temp agency, but I didn't really talk to them until later on. We talked to the association for the village managers, whatever that.
Okay, yeah,
is.
I thought they were one and the same. And
no, they're different.
What didn't sit well with me was the statement that woman said to you is she had to inform Dave of the conversation.
Oh, no. I actually spoke with the Beth Dalton, who is the city administrator, a village administrator for Lake Barrington. So
okay,
that's who that was.
I don't really want to be associated or have a search firm who may be
no, they had nothing to do with it.
About their membership versus someone who's just purely impartial.
No, it was, I had gone to Kevin Richardson, who I know from work as well. And I also know from, some of the different mayor things that I occasionally get to go to. And so I had asked him and he told me to talk to Karen Dalton. So that's how that happened.
I just wanted to be clear in my head as to who told you they felt obligated to let Dave know of your conversation.
I think that was ILCMA.
Yeah, ILCMA, but she told the ILCMA because that was the oath that she took, and she went and consulted with them. And then she called me back saying, you mentioned that Dave's going to be leaving you, and I now have to tell him. Like, well, it's okay. It's no secret. Go ahead, call him. He told us he's leaving.
All right.
So I can't find in the proposal the video charges, right? So I think that's something we have to clear up how that works on both of them.
Mm-hmm. Well, in Baker Tilly, it was just inclusive. It was in their fee, but we probably need to find out what HR Gov wants for that feature.
But my point was not so much how much it cost, but how they used it as part of their process. Whereas the other wouldn't use it unless you paid extra to have it, which of course, if we went that route, we would. But I'm just curious why you wouldn't use all of the tools at your disposal.
I don't know. I mean, I'll just tell you, my kids, both of them did the video interviews and they hated it, right? So I don't think they'll get hired that way, but this is for internships, but they both have gotten great jobs, right? So I don't know what to say. You know, it's interesting. The guy from Glenview was very impressed with it because he said, you know, we could tell that this was the right person, but I don't know.
Was that a pre-recorded video or just a video call?
No, it's a pre-recorded video. So what it
Okay,
is
I
they
get it.
do, they ask you a question, you don't know what it is, and then you respond to the computer.
Right, understood. Cost for HR Gov is $100 per candidate, and I found that on their proposal just now.
Thank you, Chris.
Yep.
And it's in the other one. It's included in the other one. So,
Right.
right.
But Bobby, to your point, we don't want them to screen or video a lot of candidates. We want them to video the final, pick a number, 3,
You're
5.
missing my point. My point is, why wouldn't you use the tools that are available? The one company does, the other doesn't. That's my point. It's not the cost. It's why wouldn't you?
Because it's a different approach, right? And
Obviously.
well, you use a heavier hammer for a different job than a light hammer, right? That's what it comes down to. If your skill set and your interview skill sets of face-to-face or real-time video are appropriate and do a great job of screening candidates, you take the top 3 after that and you put them on a video. You're not going to do that 100% to everybody. You're just not going to do it anyway. At least I don't think you are.
Yeah, I viewed it more as a marketing approach, and Chris may be enunciating the same thing, but I look at it as, you know, I compete against different, you know, manufacturers all day long, and some people give you more of a smorgasbord of cost breakouts for the customer to pick. Others give you an all-in price, and I'm not sure either one is correct or either one is incorrect.
I'm not talking price. It's the difference between having a video, having written, and having a phone conversation. You're using 3 different tools.
Mm-hmm.
And why wouldn't you?
Or tools.
I think that it's how much value you place on the tools, you know, and so some people may say the video is amazing, the way that's being used by Baker Tilly, and others may feel that it's not, and it doesn't get them where. I don't know. I'd be comfortable with either one. I do feel that they both seem very qualified, both the people that we would work with and the companies behind them. You know, I mentioned that it felt to me like the personality for Sharon was maybe more of a match for us. On the other hand, GovHR is also more local. So there may be, you know, a tilt that way too, but I'll just shut up now and say I'd be very comfortable either way. I really would. I think the proof is just getting a good slate of qualified people.
Well, they both have good credentials, right? But for me personally, I felt more comfortable with Baker Tilly. I'm not saying HR Gov couldn't do the job, and I certainly don't feel so strongly one way or the other that I would make a big issue out of it.
Why don't we go around the horn and let's hear what people think. So I think that's a great idea. So Chris, do you want to tell us who? No.
No, let me go last, Bill. I want to hear other people's opinions. You know, I'd like to hear what everybody else's comments are.
All right. How about Rita? You're muted, by the way, too.
Yes, I know. I learned how to read since the last time.
Thank goodness.
Finally. I think right now I view them equally. I view them as equals. I was not in a good environment with the Baker Tilly interview. I was able to pick up the gist of it, and I remember what I heard. I guess the GovHR, to me, is local, they're local. It seems like anybody in that field who is looking, whether they're looking for a small town or a large town, GovHR has got to be one of the places that I think is just a given. If you're looking for a job, that you deal with them. And I don't think it's the only executive search firm that job seekers look for. I would presume they put their resumes in with 2 or 3 places, guessing, but it's what I would do. I'm a little influenced by the feedback that Ginny got from a friend of hers regarding Baker Tilly. I thought that the ladies came across very well. I did and do agree with Chris in his assessment that it did seem to be a bit of a fluff presentation, a bit. And I don't know if it was just that they're a little more casual, or to me, they appear to be a little more casual in their approach. I don't know that they are casual when they actually do a search. But harder numbers, I asked a question that the lady didn't have I forget the lady's name, and I apologize.
Sharon Klump.
Yeah, she didn't have the numbers and said, I'm not sure, I'll get back to you. And I don't, unless she talked to you, Bill, I don't.
No, I never heard back. That was interesting, right? Was that on the number of village managers that
they've
hired?
played in the last year or 18
placed
months.
in the last year? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was surprised I didn't get a response back on that. That was interesting. Yeah.
I asked the same question of the GovHR gentleman, and he didn't have the number.
He didn't get back to us either. Yeah.
The impression I had at the time was he wanted it to be correct. He didn't want to guess. But I would think if you're doing a presentation, they both did their homework on Long Grove, but they didn't have a number that I thought would be like an easy, I wasn't trying to trick them. I thought it was an easy question to answer. So.
Okay. So what is your thinking?
I'm still not sure of what my thinking is,
Okay. Got it. All right.
what my choice is, I'll say.
All right. So hey, Bobby, do you want to go next?
I could live with either one. Where I kind of draw a distinction is more local with the Gov, but more personable with the Baker Tilly people. I thought it was just a much, not friendly, but an easier conversing with them. And that, so I would lean towards there, but I'm not adamant one way or the other.
Lean towards Baker Tilly, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Ann, do you want to go next?
I kind of said already, I think I feel comfortable with either one. I think, similar to Bobby, I thought that the personality was easier with Baker Tilly. I think there's validity. There's definitely a benefit in being more local for GovHR. I think the one thing I'll mention, which is sort of neither of the above, but I think our biggest challenge is going to be us, that getting us focused and corralled into a focus list of what success looks like for the next manager. And so, I don't know the answer. So which of them is going to help us get there better and more effectively?
Right.
Because I think I put myself in that camp. I think our biggest challenge, our biggest enemy is going to be us. And I don't mean an enemy. I think it's getting us to be succinct about what success looks like.
I agree with you, Ann, and I think we have another serious shortcoming, and that's our facility. And not that we're going to change it, but the thought has occurred to me: do we know an architect who could look at the building that we have and in some way enlarge it, enhance it, put a second floor on it, do something that would make it kind of like in this century.
Yeah, or just rent space somewhere in one of the vacant buildings in our downtown. So,
Well, that's an option too, but I think we really, I think that's going to be a barrier for us. And I'm just wondering if we could in some way look at other possibilities that I hadn't thought about, you know.
Yeah, that's fair. That's not going to affect either the GovHR or Baker Tilly though.
No, but I'm bringing it up only because I keep forgetting to mention it.
It's fair.
I think that it's a detriment.
got it. So Baker Tilly, more leaning towards, Ann was more leaning towards Baker Tilly.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. I really would be very happy and even on both of them.
Okay, all right. It's gonna be weird because if everyone's saying either way is fine, we're gonna have to toss a coin. So maybe Chuck or
Could I be bold enough and ask Bill Balling what his thoughts are?
well, before you
What
do
about
that,
Jenny
Bill,
and
before
Chris?
we
Oh,
got
Jenny, I'm
and
sorry.
Chris, let's let everyone go
Chris.
through before. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Chuck, if you want to wait, you can.
Well, I mean, I had said before, I'm between the two, I had a more comfortable feeling with Baker Tilly,
Okay.
but it wasn't I wouldn't be upset if we went GovHR.
Got it. All right, then Jenny, you want to comment?
Sure. So I I kind of agree. I think they're both very competent, and I think being local has an advantage. I do feel that I had an easier time talking to Sharon, but that's just her personality. I think they both do a good job. Just to kind of derail everybody, I did talk to a friend of mine who is on the candidate end of the search, and she did have some interesting comments, and one of her things was that she found working with the more boutique or smaller, not the big national glossy ones, much more I don't know if comfortable, but successful. And she threw out a name of a company that's out of Oshkosh. And I know we're pretty committed to making a decision, but I just wanted to throw that out, that she had recommended somebody in Oshkosh that has placed a ton of managers in like small towns our size. So I don't know if that would be something we wanted to throw in the ring at this point. But like I said, I'd be comfortable with both. I don't think we could go wrong.
Jenny, is that company PAA?
Let me get the name up. Sorry, I have it, and then I switched to a different page. Yeah, Public Administration Associates out of Oshkosh.
Yeah, Greg Belowski was very complimentary about that company.
Yeah, Stephanie said they were up. Shouldn't have said her name, sorry. She did not. They're much less like glossy brochure, but very personable. Like she felt very cared for and catered through, and seemed to have a good read on what the villages were looking for. So
Okay.
just make it more complicated.
Yeah, so you didn't give me an answer, but maybe we'll go to Chris then.
All right, let's go to Chris, and Chris is going to just throw thoughts out. So I just checked GovHR website. They currently are listing 17 village manager positions on their website that are open. On the other hand, I'm playing around with Baker Tilly's recruitment website. It's not really very easy to figure out what they're doing, or a spot to even search jobs. Maybe I'm just looking in the wrong spot. I don't know. So the conversation we had with Baker Tilly, I thought was very per se very conversational. But on the other hand, as I mentioned the other night, I didn't think it was very substantive in terms of their presentation. And what I mean by that is, what technical tools are they going to use? How many postings do they have on LinkedIn? Are they using LinkedIn or their own website? Or, what tools they actually, beside the video, I get that, Bobby, good point. But
They
how do they
mentioned
actually get
LinkedIn.
how do they get candidates coming in the front door? What sites do they use? How do they post? What's their marketing strategy? I didn't get a sense for that at all. And that to me was sort of what kind of differentiated the two. Where GovHR, go to their website, their presence on LinkedIn, the industry, I think, sort of knows that they're a player, and that's what like job candidates are going to go to. But on the other hand, they've got 17 open village manager positions on their website right now. So how do we differentiate ourselves in that group? I don't know how we do it. I think it's a very difficult challenge. I think, therefore, Baker Tilly, because Baker Tilly is going to handhold it.
So Baker Tilly is your final answer?
That's my final answer.
Okay.
I'm surprised.
I know you are, and I think the money's worth it because I think we're going to get some more personal attention. I just hope that Baker Tilly has good enough. I don't, not the tools that Bobby referred to, but how are they going to seek their candidates and how are they going to build that data pool? I just don't know if I've got a good feeling for that. But on the other hand, I think they're a super professional company, and I think we'll get some special attention. Probably more so than GovHR, because GovHR is looking to fill 17 spots right now.
Wow. Well, can I call a lifeline then? Somebody wanted Bill Balling's opinion. Is this a time to everyone okay if I call that lifeline?
Yeah, my sense is that both firms have reputations. They can deliver a manager. I think one of the most salient points tonight was Bobby's comment. You are going to have liabilities in the marketing and presentation when the top candidates realize they're likely to be working, at least in the short to midterm, up in the attic. That is going to be a high negative for the village. Now, that doesn't change who's going to do it, but it does change who is going to be the presentation and also who is going to put a focus on. I didn't hear much in either presentation on what their expectation is. And they've done enough of these that they know what the expectation is. And I think it's going to be more of an early career up and starter, probably regionally located, likely an assistant or deputy manager that's looking for their first cut and was willing to put up with some short-term inconvenience in order to build a reputation and a portfolio, if you will, as a manager. There'll be some opportunity in risks because, we've got a very, very small workforce, but the business model is contractual. I mean, we have a support staff that does really good work, but our business plan is really contractual. So finding that person that might be early to mid-career that really has good contract management and service delivery will be important. And neither one really spoke to that point. And I think that was probably a negative for both of them in terms of what they did, but I think they have the capacity to produce a successful candidate. But I think the concept that the board has to be extremely objective and really drive the recruiter to say, look, we want to have the proper presentation, the authentic and accurate presentation on what we are and what our needs are. And I think that will help solidify who the real serious candidates are and who are the people that are really struggling to get back in the employment market. Not that that can't be a good fit, but that's a higher level of risk, I think, than I think Long Grove is going to expect out of the person that's going to come and take the permanent position. So I'm less troubled with which one you'd select and more concerned that the village board itself become correct in its assessment on what we're offering. And I don't think we have to say, hey, you're going to be working in the attic for 3 years or whatever. But you just say there's some opportunities here and try to define your mission to really seek out, what's going on. To your point, Mayor, Kevin Timoney was one of the guys that was on our screen for South Barrington before we picked here in Dalton Lane. And this guy was just an all-star, but he was early in his career. And one of the concerns we had in South Barrington is we didn't have enough runway for a guy that was that ambitious. So getting the proper focus and match of who you want and who you're going to retain is going to be really important, because you want a good level of retention in terms of manager. And that's, I define that as like a 5 to 7 year minimum window, not a 1 to 3 year window. So I think it's, I think the board getting comfortable, I think both of them indicated that they're going to either through questionnaire or interview, going to try to match up what the strengths and weaknesses of the village government structure is. So that'll be helpful. But I think that's going to be probably the bigger challenge than which one of the team will do good. I know Paul only because I know him as a manager from years past and a police chief. I don't know either of the two from Baker Tilly, but they were impressive. They are somewhat distant for where the location is. I always get concerned when someone says, "Well, I got a relative in Racine, so I know Metro Chicago." But that's part of the marketing shtick that goes along with things. But if I was placing a bet on where the talent's going to arise, it's probably going to be early career professionals in Northeastern Illinois is going to be your target market, and you might get something in between that somebody will say, I like the challenge, I like the historical significance of the village, I want to do something about it. It's not a suburb, it's a unique place. And I like the feel from an environmental standpoint. I like the feel, it fits my personal philosophies. Those are all important values. And I think that's where it would come. But I mean, I think pressing either of the consultants to really create the authentic profile of what we are and what our opportunities are. This is a marketing strategy. You never market poorly, but we know our limitations, and trying to find someone that would be that perfect fit will be really important. So I really sense it's going to be a regional pick, probably an early to mid-career professional. Don't be surprised if you get a lot of really high quality female candidates. That's what I found in my practice. And I think that's where you hit it. I think both are professional firms and could get the job done for you.
Don't tell them about the attic.
Well, let's talk about the attic. If there's a good chance that the candidate, and to me, it would be really an ideal candidate is the person who is currently an assistant manager looking to get experience as a manager. Then hopefully it's a younger person who is into fitness and can hike up there. I mean, we're not looking for.
I mean, hey, Dave was there 18 years, so I mean.
Well, yeah, and Dave is an outdoor guy, Seth Meyer broadcasts from his attic every night. So what the heck is wrong with that? And part of me says we're in this. Long Grove is in this period where we really are going from Old Town to New Town. What was and what is. We're in a transition period anyway. So that's who we are. And if somebody's offended because they're, I think it's cute. I think it's quaint, it's charming, it's blah, blah, blah. But okay, so the person who comes in here and says, "Oh my God, I need something better than that," then they're not our person.
Well, and that's something that you're gonna, that you'll evaluate as you get into it. But it is, the marketing stick and promotional stick that goes along with that proposal. So is that, we've got a capacity to get the, high quality, high skilled person, and they didn't quite show me, either one of them didn't quite show the definition of what that might be in their mind. And part of it might be lack of familiarity with some of the key issues that the village is facing, including adequate facilities. And again, we're a contractual city, so we're never going to build or use a village hall like
not going to happen. Yeah,
like a Glenview or a you name it. But and that's not what you should hire someone for. You know, the people put up with a lot when you've got a good organization. It's not but I think it is going to be somewhat self-limiting in terms of it's going to be a challenge to recognize and maybe some, internal discussions on clarity and where that leads to how we assess the best candidate for the fit in Long Grove. But I think you want someone that really is hungry, that wants to really has good analytic skills, hasn't had the opportunity maybe to serve as a chief administrative officer, and is eager, fire in the belly.
Well, yeah, I agree. I agree with what you're saying, and I agree with Ann's comment that we take it as it comes. The hardest part is going to be us. You're absolutely correct, Ann. I absolutely 100,000%. Us being able to say these are the top 3 qualities. We can live with this, this, and this. Can't live without X, Y, Z. That's the hard part. And the person who helps us get there, and the sooner they help us get there, the better off everybody is. And if they're looking, if they got 17 openings at GovHR, we only need 1. Maybe there's somebody in there, that we're not, I hope we wouldn't think less of a candidate who really does need or want a job. That's not a bad thing, in my opinion. Period. It's like, well, he's just looking for a job. He needs a job. Well, she needs a job. So what? Good. We need a manager.
So I'm just going to make a comment. I was comfortable with either one. Sharon, so interestingly, I went for her more personable style. It matched me better. But then when I listened to Lincoln Knight talk about Paul, that made me think differently, right? Because it's hard to judge a book by the cover. He said, seemed like he did a really good job. So I think we can't go wrong with either one. I think somebody needs to make a decision and decide, and so we can move on.
I gotta side with Chris on, are we gonna get lost in the shuffle? They got 17 jobs to fill. And are they gonna give us the attention? And they might, I don't know. But if we had to make a decision right here, right now, I'd say Baker Tilly.
I really would be comfortable either way, but it's funny because if there's 17 on there, I also think, well, there's going to be lots of people in the door. They'll see, and they'll be able to say, okay, A, B, or C. But I could totally see both ways. That's off my point.
Yeah, it could be a benefit.
Also a good point.
Yeah, having a lot of candidates that they're looking at, right? So.
Well, and not everybody's going to get a Barrington or an Arlington Heights or a Glenview. They're probably the majority are looking for that. So we're, how many people walk in and say, I just want this small town of 8,000 people, it's like, how many?
The assistant that wants to become the manager instead of the assistant.
Well, and Dave Letzbike moved up, right, from Bannockburn.
Yeah, we only need 1, and maybe that assistant manager has fabulous ideas and doesn't sit at a desk, not that Dave did, but maybe it's just not a big deal to him or her. We're not going to build a, $500,000 new village hall. $500,000 wouldn't even cut it. So.
Well, Ann obviously made a huge point about we're not really sure what success looks like. So my next thought is, do we have to make this choice right now? Would another week or 2 help us get a better handle on what we think success looks like, which would open up the possibility of reaching out to this firm in Oshkosh. I just don't know what our time frame is. It was different when we had when we made a decision on Bill Balling. We were under the gun. Not sure we're in the same time pressures as we were.
Well, you are, Chuck, because Bill's contract's going to run out. That's one point. And second point is you got Thanksgiving coming up. So you delay it a week or 2, you got Thanksgiving holidays, and then I don't know about you guys, but everybody in my company is like delayed all their vacation time. Nobody's going to be around in December. No idea if Baker Tilly is going to be that same way or not. You got Christmas, with Christmas holiday season coming up, and boy, I think you just want to get it started. Get the legwork, post on LinkedIn, post on their websites, start making some phone calls, get the job description done. I don't see any reason why we want to wait. We've got 2 good qualified candidates. They're not crazy expensive. I think we should get started. And I love what Bill Balling just said in terms of his summation of skill sets and kind of requirements and personality. I just think we ought to get it rolling. I mean, just pick one and move forward.
I would be very happy with whatever actually makes your gut happy, Bill Jacob. I truly would.
Oh, geez.
And I would tell you if I thought otherwise.
So where I was leaning towards after talking to Lincoln Knight was going with GovHR because they're local, and after talking with Karen. Now the question is, do we have to? I mean, is it Paul Harlow? Could we have somebody else from GovHR, right? So that's the question. You know what I mean? So we're not locked into Paul because it was what's her name, Katie Rush, that Karen was very impressed with, right? So that's a possibility as well.
What's your objection to Paul? You have a job.
It was the way that he presented was very dry. So so that's where I was very encouraged when I heard Lincoln talk about how he was really good. He offered really good advice, good insights, and all that kind of stuff. So,
So if
you bring up a slightly different point, Bill. How many recruiters do they have at GovHR, and will we end up with someone we even know their name of today?
Yeah,
we're hiring. We'd be hiring Paul. Yeah.
Okay, if we're both we're happy with both of them, but one of them is $5,000 cheaper. Why are we not going with the cheaper one?
Well, that would
I love it when you get really conservative, Jenny.
That's GovHR, right?
Yeah, GovHR. They're local. They're $5,000 less. We have both said we could all go either way pretty much.
Because the video costs are going to add up, and also Baker Tilly uses their own set of personality profiling of those candidates, where GovHR is going to charge us for any kind of I don't know what the right word is, personality testing that they do, such as Caliper or DISC or anything like that.
Since I'm not in the corporate world, what does that mean? What is personality profiling?
We use a system at our company we use Caliper. And Caliper is a series of like 154 questions that will give you a personality profile of that individual. And more often than not, they're very, very deadly accurate. It will tell you about their traits, whether, they'll tell you about their empathy skills or apathy skills, or it will tell you about their, boy, I'm drawing a blank, their gregariousness. It will tell you about the way they think, basically. So they're really, really useful tools. And there's a million of them out there. They're all different flavors, different types. But they give you a personality profile of that person that you don't get just from an interview question.
Nice.
I maybe read offline. I could send you an example of maybe if I black out somebody's name, kind of give you an idea. But they're deadly accurate. They tell you a lot about that person that you don't get from a video interview or face-to-face interview.
It's like the old.
I've gone through them also. Like I've done DISC, and I've done it with more than 10 years difference between the two times. And it's also very persistent, consistent. And the DISC it's like S stands for steady. I am rock bottom on steady. You do not want to give me the same thing every day. Okay, so that kind of thing. And that's very persistent.
I see.
Just an example. It's that kind of thing. It's both personality and also good fit, bad fit.
I took one of those assessments years ago, probably more than I want to admit. You know what it said? Do anything but get into sales.
So you really believe it?
Yeah.
It's hard for me to get my arms around that because I think I've done okay in sales.
Maybe you're just a contrarian.
I could be.
All right,
I could
so
be.
I don't know if we're going to come to a conclusion here. So
Well, get out of coin. I mean, if we're
I know
gonna
that's
make a
what I literally
decision.
was joking about.
Well,
I know.
are
That's,
are we saying that we're indifferent and therefore we want to hear from a third search company? Or are we saying we're indifferent and we just need to chew the cud some more and figure out why?
I think it's
I
the
think there's
second
two,
one.
we have two good companies in front of us right now.
Okay.
We can't go wrong with either one. So that's my opinion.
And
And HR,
really-
I don't want to spend time with a third company, and it's just more of a, we've got two good candidates. It's really going to be about the candidates they bring us.
right.
Right.
So I'm leaning towards
Well,
HR Gov.
Well,
'cause we're
and
more
and
local.
how they heard the six of us cats.
Yeah, I'm leaning more towards HR Gov because of the localness. So that's why. But I'm fine either way. So when you guys actually decide, unless there's a tie, and I don't want there to be a tie. So please call us.
I'm okay with GovHR.
Okay.
I'm fine with GovHR.
Okay, that's two.
I'm going to stick with Baker Tilly.
All right, you're Baker Tilly. Bobby?
Baker Tilly.
Okay.
And it's something that just came, passed through my brain was that I think that, was it Sharon or Karen?
Sharon Klump.
Karen is going to pull out from us better than the other.
Okay.
His name is, what is his name? Carl?
Paul.
Oh, Paul.
I just think that her ability to speak and communicate, she will, and we will be the problem.
Yeah.
And I think she will get more out of us than Paul would.
Well, when you talk about my pre-interview with both of them, I had a very great conversation with her. So I got exactly what you're talking about. And I thought she got a lot of the stuff that, concerns that we have from our village, right? Where Paul was a little more dry. So great point there. So Chris, you're still Baker Tilly?
Yes.
All right. Ann, Baker Tilly?
Oh, no, I don't want to be in this. I really don't. I would be comfortable with either one. I really would. I lean towards local, but I think Bobby's got a good point. And by the way, I think that if Bobby thinks that Sharon will pull more out of her, then that might actually become true. And I think that's valid. That's good. So,
All right. Well, if I have to break
Gotta
it,
pick, Ann.
I'll go Baker Tilly. So
Okay. I wanted Ann to have to pick.
no, I'll just do it. I want us to go on. I want us to get this going.
I'd have an opinion. You'd hear it.
Well, technically.
I know it's Baker
Fair
Tilly.
enough.
He's
if
comfortable with
Ann
that decision, by the
abstained-
way.
If Ann abstained, we had three, so we're fine. But we're good. Baker
We're
Tilly.
good, right? Because there was Chuck, Bobby, and Chris were all Baker. Ann is not telling us that she's Baker. And you're HR Gov.
I'm happy with either.
Okay, so,
It's
Yeah, I'm
fine.
not going to be unhappy with either of them.
okay, so how do we proceed here? Contract, all that jazz, right, to move this along? Vic, you're still in your car. Hopefully
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
running.
I'm still in the car, and what we'll need to do is to put this on the agenda for formal approval. But if the board is prepared to move in that direction, we can certainly advise Baker Tilly and HR Gov that we're going Baker Tilly and do some of the preliminaries. They may want to make sure they have the signed contract beforehand, but my guess is there's still some lead-up work that can be done as we advise them that they're going to be presented for final approval next time.
Yeah, I think that's good. And confirming all the things we think we're getting, right?
Yeah,
Before
I
we,
mean, if you find yourself getting a completely different reaction on the second time around, that's something you can evaluate. But I'm hopeful that from what I've heard, which has been quite a bit, that you're relatively comfortable either way, and I think making the decision is going to be the big hurdle here. So sounds like you're there, and we can have a resolution ready for you next time. We'll make sure that the contract is as it should be, so that we're ready to go.
Vic,
All right.
I have a question. Are these packages that the executive search companies offer, are they, for lack of better phraseology, cast in stone, or do they negotiate? Like Chris was concerned about the videos, cost of them.
Well, I think that most everything is negotiable, and particularly given, unique is an appropriate term for Long Grove, and not all of the same bells and whistles that a Glenview or a Barrington would have
Right.
a need for will apply to us. So, I think to the extent anyone has particular concerns about elements of the Baker Tilly proposal, it'd be helpful to pass those along, and we can certainly see if those can be addressed. Insofar as Baker Tilly goes, they do, I thought, incorporate the videos as part of their price.
Correct.
So that's
Correct. Yeah.
that's not going to be much of a difference.
Yeah. That was an example, I guess. So.
But again, if anybody had anything that gave them some willies, that's a technical legal term, when they were looking at the proposal, please pass those on so that we can try to address those headlong.
Okay, thanks.
All right, that's the end of my report.
I'm just laughing that Rita asked the lawyer if things are negotiable.
Well, this is not my world. I don't know how these search firms work, and some of them are, it is what it is, and we don't deviate, I would guess, but just a question.
All right, end of report. We've got direction. Thank you. Moving right along, the next item is Trustee Borowski's report. The only thing I think you have is the textile recycling, right?
Yeah, that's correct, Bill. I guess we sent a intergovernmental agreement over to Vic for review. I don't know if that's come back from Vic yet or not.
I was actually reviewing it when the power. So I don't have a full review of it yet, but I can certainly get some comments to you once I have some means of getting back into it.
All right, thanks for that, Vic. The only other question really is location of where we place the bin that really the board should opine on. There's a good Vic term. SWALCO coordinator of the program did take a drive around Long Grove, even though she's familiar with Long Grove. She recommended Village Hall location, particularly like the brick roundabout right in front of Hall, because it's right there. It's easily accessible by both people donating and drop off, as well as the truck that will come by and pick it up. Plus we can kind of keep an eye on it. But certainly that was just one option. So just kind of toss it out there and see if the board has any particular preference. We could also put it in one of the parking spots in the village parking lot at Village Hall. The idea is that these are relatively, kind of relatively obscure locations, but SWALCO coordinator isn't overly concerned as long as we could advertise it very heavily in the bridge and other communications. People will use it if they know about it. But
why wouldn't we make it easy by putting it like at Archer Lot?
we could. I think that's actually a very good idea too. I think it's close enough and visible enough to a lot of people, as well as even the fire department. So I wouldn't have any objection to that. I think that's a good idea as well.
It's kind of creepy going to Village Hall at nighttime.
Yeah.
But that may be when you're trying to drop stuff off, but it's still kind of creepy.
I also just think Archer Lot is you're coming north or west. I mean, you don't have to go north on Old McHenry. It just is a little bit more on your way.
I agree. No, I don't know if Chuck or Rita, if you have an opinion.
Well, actually, my first thought was Village Hall, but Archer Lots, like, wasn't even on my mind. I forgot we owned Archer Lots, and I like that idea.
And just so it, it's not one of those bins like Goodwill where stuff is piling out of it all the time looking.
Well, that could happen, Rita. Even though Swalco doesn't say it happens a lot, but in theory it could happen. That's why it's important to have visibility to it, so somebody can go look over and say, "Man, there's a problem. We need to call the hall," and consequently call Swalco, and they'll arrange for a pickup. So yeah, that could indeed happen. If we advertise it properly and somebody's got a lot of material they want to drop off, if we know that in advance, we can call the contractor and they can be, scheduled to pick it up the next day, kind of thing.
Oh, I see.
Next business day or whatever. So it comes down to advertising and messaging, really. But yeah, you're right. It could theoretically happen, and people, could possibly dump some other stuff. So it's good to have it kind of in eyesight of, a restaurant, a business, the fire department, Village Hall, something like that. That helps to defer that kind of activity. But according to Swalco, it doesn't happen very often. They do get it. Kind of the other comment is, in this part of the county, there aren't too many of these textile bins. I think the nearest one will be in Buffalo Grove or over at the Emmerich, the old Emmerich School, or whatever that school is. It's not the Emmerich ball field. It's
Alcott?
that's the community center where they do their.
Alcott.
I'm sorry, what's the name, Bobby?
Alcott.
Yeah, there you go. It's at Alcott Center.
There's one in Lincolnshire. It's by the brewery over there, so that's where I saw it.
Yeah, and they're not real close, right? So we've got a lot of people around it. So we may get some contributors from the surrounding community as well. So yeah, either one, whatever you guys want. I think, Archer is good as any to start. If we don't like it, we move it to the hall.
All right. Is everyone okay with that direction?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we'll get the IGA done, and then once we do that, all we need to do is tell them where we want it, and again, it's not a real big revenue stream. It's pennies. Other municipalities have collected, $100 to $2,000 depending on the volume. Some communities have used that money to do recycled bin purchases, or just even set up a scholarship for a high school kid for an environmental scholarship or something like that. So we don't necessarily need to add it to general funds. We could do something creative with it too. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. No
Thanks,
problem.
Chris.
Next item is Trustee Kritzmeyer's report.
I've got a couple of quick information items and then one we need to take action on. Quick info, you can see in the things that we've got the South Gateway TIF, the Joint Review Board is being reconvened. We had that conversation last time about one addressee got inadvertently left off the list. So we've got to reconvene it. That will be this Friday morning at 7 a.m. We've just had it in the past at 7 a.m. for commuters. So anybody is welcome, anybody. The next point of information, we've got a conversation tomorrow with Sikich to go over the draft financial audit. I'll be real honest, just with everything wrapping up with my work, I didn't really get good eyes on it until today. I would say overall, my impression is it goes a lot deeper on things like the municipal pension liability and a lot lighter on the notes about all of the backs and forths that we know are in our finances between the TIF district and the open space fund and the general fund and the capital fund. It's a little lighter on the notes there, but overall there's some descriptions and discussions in there that are nicely plain English, and then other things that I would have expected more notes on. And so we've got a conversation tomorrow, and then I don't know if it's the next meeting or the meeting after that, then you guys will have plenty of time to chew on it for sure. So those are the two. Third information, Denise and I met also to talk a little bit about just putting together a template for projections for the Gateway TIF. Again, no projects, no commitments, but just making it so that when we want to start doing kind of what if analysis, that there's a tool ready to go and it doesn't have to be built from scratch. So she is working on that, which is great. And we had a real quick call with Lee from Tesca also just on some questions on some things that she had. And then the last that we need to take action on is the bill list, which just got posted late this afternoon. If anybody had a chance, there's nothing that concerns me overall. Bill is I think drinking from a fire hose, as well as like trying to figure out like, well, what's what and where. Our process is that eventually, usually Dave would scan every bill and I would look at them most of the time. Certainly and so we're kind of getting that up and running and then getting other things on there too. The other thing, I think Bobby and Bill, Jacob, have you both signed all the signature cards? Because Debbie contacted me. She needs to be able to write checks, which means she needs you guys to sign. I know I did when I was there on Friday. I know that Bill Balling and I had, but you guys have to re-sign so that we can reauthorize.
Where
Yeah, I
are the
think
signature cards?
I've got them on the, in the boardroom, Bill.
Oh, okay.
But
I was there.
I need a couple of you, Bobby, and I think I need one or two from you. So I have Ann's, I have myself is on there. But I need, we need to get those in.
If you could do that, because that's holding, so Debbie can't cut the checks until she can do that, so.
Okay, I didn't know that. I was at the Village Hall this weekend. Yeah.
I didn't know that until Debbie sent me the email to this afternoon at like 5 o'clock. So there's that. So the action we do need to take though is I'll make a motion to approve the bill list as presented on the Village Drive and to pay all of the bills that are basically, we're trying to get them paid tomorrow, but as soon as we can make all of the signature cards go. As I said, there wasn't anything that's outstanding concern. You can see large amounts for construction things due, as well as Amalgamated Bank. That's our debt service on the Sunset Grove Fund.
Okay, that was moved by Trustee Kritzmeyer, seconded by Trustee O'Reilly. Amy, this is where you come in?
Yep. All right, Trustee Borowski.
May I ask a question? Do those need to be part of the public record, or are they?
Yes,
Yeah.
They should be.
So if they're just posted on the drive, does that mean they're posted as part of the public record for anybody to review them like today or tomorrow kind of thing?
We
That's
can,
a staff question. I don't know.
yeah, no, we can get that in. I had thought, I mean, I was very rushed to get this out today, and I think it was probably as of tonight, it was only on the board posting, but it should be on both postings. We'll take care of that in the morning.
Is the question that we shouldn't take action until the public's had a chance to see, or that it occur in parallel?
It's a big question.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
we're.
I would. This is Vic. Not all of those bills should be publicly available. Some of them have information that needs to be protected. I think that we have typically just had them in the village board packet. Other things can be FOIA'd, and from that perspective, it's fine. I think that there is the summary sheet, and right here's where I'm at a handicap because I don't have anything that I can actually look at.
It's usually just the 2-page bill list, Vic, that has
That
payee
should be
amount.
available for the public. And
Yeah.
Right.
that can be approved with or without the, that can be approved even if it hasn't yet been posted. It can be posted after the fact.
Thank you,
Okay.
Vic. Then I vote yes.
Well, you haven't been asked to vote yet, but go.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I vote yes.
Okay, so you are a yes. And Trustee Kritzmeyer.
Yes.
Okay, Trustee O'Reilly.
Yes.
Trustee Nora.
Yes.
Trustee O'Connor.
Yes.
And Trustee Michaud.
Yes.
A motion
All
carried.
right.
End of
Okay,
report. Yeah, go ahead.
End of report.
Thank you. Trustee Michaud, anything?
No.
Thank you. Trustee Nora?
I owe you a report, but I don't have it ready. It'll have to be next week or next meeting. And I apologize.
No apology needed. Trustee O'Connor?
I gave you my report.
I know you did. How about Trustee O'Reilly? And before I do that, hey, nice job. Nice job. Got this in the mail.
Yeah, I was going to comment on the TIF being front and center there, and we fessed up to our error, and so it's very public that the meeting is it Friday, I think. So and that we made a mistake. And then if you have any items for the newsletter, as you can tell, we've gotten quite varied in what we're putting in the newsletter, and I think we've gotten some really nice comments about what's in the content. And then one last thing is that, as you may recall, Betty Coffin has had a tree out in front of the village hall, and it died. And somehow or another, all of the daffodils that Betty Coffin was known for, she started the daffodil program throughout Long Grove. And so just today, Sherry had the landscaper take all of the excess bulbs, daffodils, that for some reason people weren't getting this year, and had them put all out in front, in the island in front of the village hall.
Nice.
Nice.
So there should be a plaque or something for Betty Coffin, but I don't know if there is or what, but that's why the daffodils. And if you come up with any great idea for the newsletter, let us know. We're finishing up on the last of the businesses in Long Grove. We've got two more, and that's Skycrest and Menards.
Bobby, I think you probably talked to Denise about this, but maybe a special shout out to Weiss Industries for donating all of the PPE would be nice.
Oh, no, I didn't know that. But yes, that's a great idea.
Thank you.
I wondered if it would make sense to, I know that in the EDC this morning, I talked about the RV place on 83, but like them, Cutler was also annexed into Long Grove, and that might be an interesting one to profile. I don't know if that's valid. The other question, it's maybe just me, but you know, when we realized that John Kopecki was sort of repairing the bridge on the sly, is there a story there?
You know what? We've done a story on John. We did a whole two-pager on him.
I remember that. I just didn't know if that part of the bridge, if it's maybe more of the bridge has actually been more of a magnet for hitting than we thought.
Yeah. Okay, something to think about. Yeah.
I'll get smarter in the morning. 9:46 at night. I'm not
I know.
very
Well,
smart.
so anything else, Bobby?
No.
The only thing that I will add is we got to fix that flag too. I don't think it's at half mast for any reason. I think it's jammed up or something.
You know, there's a whole bunch of half-mast flags, and I just asked somebody the other day, why are they flying at me? I don't know.
I think originally it was a COVID thing,
Yeah.
and it was a Pritzker thing,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure that's been released. I see several around the area. I can check on that, but it does seem really too long to fly a flag at half mast.
Yeah.
But I think there was Chuck is right. There was a Pritzker initiative in honor of the people who lost their lives to COVID, but that was like back in like March.
Yeah.
And there's still a bunch in the area that are down. So I'll check with the.
Probably
check
the
with-
reason ours is.
Yeah.
Nobody's put them back up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of loses.
I think we
its
can
meaning
raise
after a
it.
while.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for that great report and the great publication that arrived at my doorstep today. For whatever reason, we don't have meeting minutes to approve.
Right.
So I don't know if Amy, you got those out or not, but we didn't see any.
You didn't?
Nope.
Okay. Bill, did you get, there were the prior ones that I had sent the ones from my laptop, and it turns out from autosave, they'd gone to, so I sent you the wrong one, but I sent those last week. Did you not get those?
I didn't
And
have them
then-
in time that we distributed the agenda. There are some ones that I haven't been able to confirm, take the ones that we've already approved from the ones that we haven't. So I set that back in the queue for our meeting on the 23rd of November, Amy, so that
Okay.
we can get
Okay.
all of them. I didn't want to approve them twice. And I didn't have a chance
Okay.
to go back and look at every ones we had. And I know there were a couple of errors that were in there in terms of the ones that we had already approved. But my plan is to get those updated for our meeting on the 23rd of November. And we'll be caught up.
Okay.
So,
And I think there's still something I need to, so I've circled back with Vic and figured out how we solved that problem from the last meeting. And so you have that copy of that draft, but there's something I need to change on that, so I will resend. So ignore the one from 10/27, I'm sorry, 11/13.
okay,
And I will, oh, no, 10/27,
right,
and I will send you a new one on that.
great.
But you do have the three, the 9/22, the, we'll work this out later.
Okay.
We'll make sure they're all, okay, cool.
Good, thank you.
All right, thanks, Amy. Appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
Now the next part is public comment. Is there any public comment tonight? If not, I would be looking for a motion to adjourn. I don't think there's any reason.
It's too early.
No.
It's entirely too early.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, hold on a
Not
second.
allowed.
Who moved it first? Was it Jenny or was it Amy?
Yeah.
Jenny.
Jenny? All right, moved by
Yep.
trustee Micho, seconded by,
Second,
Trustee Nora, I heard.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay, so seconded by trustee Nora. Okay, so trustee Micho, seconded by trustee Nora. Roll call.
okay. All right, Trustee Micho.
Yes.
Excellent. Trustee O'Connor.
aye.
Trustee Nora.
aye.
Trustee O'Reilly.
Aye.
And Trustee Chris Meyer.
Aye.
And Trustee Borowski.
Yes.
Good night,
Okay,
everyone.
meeting adjourned. Good night. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
night.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Take care, everyone.
Y'all do too. Bye.
9:51, that's a record.